Hello, my name is Jennifer Gruba, and today I'm going to lead you through an abbreviated Yin Yoga practice. So when we think of the terms Yin and Yang, we are familiar with that for the most part, in that we're referring to opposites or even things that complement each other. And so oftentimes people are familiar with Vinyasa Yoga, where we are moving through postures a few breaths at a time. Maybe we even speed things up and move through postures one breath at a time. And so that is referred to as Vinyasa Yoga. And we can consider that the Yang, if you will. It's a little more quickly paced. So we are going to be doing Yin Yoga today. And Yin Yoga is slower. We hold postures instead of for 3 to 5 breaths. Sometimes we hold them for 3 to 5 minutes. And the thought process behind this, or the reason behind this, I should say, is that we're holding these postures to stretch, yes, but we're going beyond stretching. So we are going beyond stretching the muscles, but also attempting to loosen and stretch the connective tissues around the joints. So Yin Yoga is slower and thus a little bit more meditative in nature. We are asked to just sit and be in a posture. And another thing that often crops up in Yin Yoga is resistance, both physical and mental. So sometimes these postures get a little bit edgy. Meaning you'll feel resistance in your joints or in your muscles, in those connective tissues. So I encourage you to really know for yourself when to back out and when to stay. So if something truly hurts, then obviously you back out. But if something is just a little bit edgy, I invite you to stay with it and to breathe. That is part of the practice. And if you're not sure what I mean, you will as we begin to go through some of these postures. So let's just center ourselves and breathe for a few moments, setting our sacred space. Laying the foundation for our practice by calming the mind and slowing down, turning our attention inward. Softening the shoulders, maybe sliding them farther down your back. Good. So the first posture we're going to go into is fairly familiar for a lot of people. It is called child's pose. So your knees will go wide. Arms will be outstretched in front of you. And you'll shift the hips and buns down towards those heels. Perhaps the forehead connects with the mat. Walking the fingers forward. If you notice any tightness in the shoulders, feel free, spread those hands apart a little bit wider. You should find greater ease in the shoulders. So continuing to just breathe and be in your child's pose. You might be noticing some tightness in your hips and in your lower back. The toes of the feet point towards each other. They may or may not touch. just becoming a witness to anything that arises for you. So, staying in child's pose. Maybe you notice a little agitation arise, maybe boredom, maybe an emotion regarding a conversation that you just had. Trying to stop these things from happening or forcing anything to happen. Rather, just notice and return to the inhales and the exhales. Let your attention fall on and follow those inhales and exhales. Notice too where you might be holding anything or resisting. You might be noticing continued tightness in the hips or the shoulders, and just soften. Just meet that resistance. Lean into it and soften as much as you can. We have a tendency to want to watch the clock and to know when things are going to end. So just know I'm minding the time. You already know how long the video is, so you know roughly how long you'll be practicing with me. So just allow yourself to be in that state of not knowing, just being in the posture without trying to control or predict. Yes, it is difficult. And again, therein lies part of the practice. And then gently ease yourself up from child's pose. So you'll ease yourself up, come onto your knees. And we're going to find a variation of a squat here and a forward fold. So coming up onto the feet, allowing the arms to be between the hands, your feet will be wide. Toes pointing forward, they might be pointing outward just a little bit. And then allow the head and the neck and the shoulders to relax. So you're in sort of a crouching position here. Allowing the hips to draw down towards the earth. Let the head be so heavy. Perhaps nodding and shaking the head a little bit. And just breathing here. Creating space between the back teeth. Avoid clenching the jaw. Notice your hips. Notice if you're holding or contracting any muscles in that area, and soften. If you are a runner, Yin Yoga is particularly good for you because again, we're going beyond just stretching the muscles. We're also stretching the connective tissues And as runners, you are continuously using the same muscles and doing the same movements. Following the inhales, following the exhales. Very slowly starting to rise. And you're going to turn and pivot. Let your right knee stay on the ground or stay on your mat. If you have any kind of knee issue, it would be wise to maybe put a pillow or some kind of cushion or even a folded blanket or a towel underneath the right leg, underneath the right knee. So we're going to shimmy that right knee behind us. Bring that left foot out a bit. Shimmy it to the left and then plant the hands to the inside of the left foot, allowing that right hip flexor to draw towards the ground. Some refer to this as lizard pose. Notice if you're holding in the shoulders. So staying here on the palms is an option. A second option is perhaps you're able to come down onto the forearms. Please don't force making this forearm option happen for you if you feel that, oh, it's more intense or it's more advanced if you're on your forearms. That is not the case. Okay, no one is good at yoga. No one is bad at yoga. It is just where you are at, and you are always meeting your body with where you're at. Going just a smidge over that comfort zone, just enough so that we experience growth and progress, but not so much where there's true pain. You might be experiencing a little bit of that edginess I mentioned at the beginning of our practice. So I encourage you to continue to breathe slowly and steadily and just meet that resistance. Just let it be. So not only stretching our muscles or our connective tissue, but also building mental endurance. Taking an inhale here. As you exhale, we're going to transition and just switch sides, doing the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to turn around so that you can see me both ways. So now the left knee is on the ground. Your hands are to the inside of the right foot, allowing that left hip flexor to draw towards the ground, shimmying that left knee behind you, shimmying the right foot to the left. I think it's wise to always start on your palms here. Just experience the posture here first before attempting to come down to the forearms and seeing if that works for you. Soften the face. Softening the face. Also think about perhaps softening your reaction, or the story that you tell yourself as you are in these postures. It's easy to fall into thinking, getting into those loops of this is uncomfortable, I want this to be done, and those things may all be true and they're not bad. But perhaps just shifting your perspective, allowing yourself to be a little uncomfortable, knowing that it is temporary. Having compassion for yourself, yet knowing that you can do hard things, you can be uncomfortable. I'm right there with you. I feel that in my hips. Inhale. Exhale, we will release the posture. Finding ourselves in a variation. Some call this butterfly or bound angle, or even cobbler's pose. So sitting on your bums, stealing the soles of the feet together. Now, some people really try and scooch those heels way in towards the groin, and if that works for you, fine, but you don't get more points for doing so. It all just really has to do with how tight your inner thighs are and your groin. So feel free to draw those heels away from the groin, maybe even making somewhat of a diamond shaped with the inside of the legs. And we're gonna just take a brief counter pose. We did a lot of rounding and folding, so taking a brief counter pose, placing the palms behind you and leaning back. Soften the shoulders, just breathe here. Inhale, exhale, release. So option here for our last posture is to stay here, upright, okay? Or beginning to fold over your lap, or that diamond shape that you've created. So folding over any amount, extending those arms out in front of you. Not forcing anything to happen or forcing yourself to come down a certain amount or judging it as good or better if you come down farther, okay? So find where you need to be and just breathe. With this posture especially, you'll notice rather quickly, without forcing anything, with just breath and time, that you'll soften into this posture a little bit more, maybe fold a little bit more. So just be here. Soften the shoulders, soften the head and neck. Soften the face. Continue to breathe here. very slowly, very gently. Ease yourself up to a seated position. Doing whatever works for your legs. Crisscross applesauce, easy pose, or maybe maintaining that diamond shape. Taking a breath in and a breath out. Then I invite you to recline and take Shavasana, also known as corpse pose, the last pose where we allow the benefits or the fruits of our practice to integrate, where we practice just being. I highly recommend a pillow for your head. Again, it can be a couch cushion or a throw pillow. And I also like using a bolster, something like this for underneath my knees. You don't need to invest in something like this. You could even roll up a few beach towels or blankets or something like that. So that's nice for support underneath the knees as you lay down, and then having something for your head to really get cozy in Shavasana, maybe finding a little blanket or hoodie or sweatshirt. So taking the time to get those things and settle into your space, and then eventually finding stillness, finding ease in Shavasana. At home, it's very tempting to skip Shavasana, but I truly believe that Shavasana is the peak posture. Not getting into a headstand or a back bend or anything like that. Shavasana is our peak posture. We do all of these things with our breath, our minds, and our bodies so that we can find a little more peace, a little more stillness, and so we can then translate that into our everyday lives and apply it off of our mats. So I encourage you, yogis, I'm going to bid thee farewell and say namaste here. I encourage you to stay in Shavasana for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for practicing. Thank you for trying Yin Yoga with me. The love and light that's in my heart honors and sees the love and the light that's in your hearts. Namaste. Thank you.